Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat, our Sunday night shit show.
Shit show.
The shit show. How are you, Pat?
I'm good. I had a million problems with my headphones today. My Bluetooth ones wouldn't work. My other ones, I couldn't have any volume. So I got this thing hanging out my ear, and
it's way healthier for your brain.
Yeah, that's right. You're very anti-Bluetooth. I forgot.
I'm not. I don't like the AirPod things.
Okay.
They're all trying to kill us one way or the other. That's what it feels like.
I can't argue with that. If somebody ever tells me the government's lying about this, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Yeah, I know. They say that it's fine because they did a lot of research on it, just like COVID's just a cold.
That's
and good. The Israel-Palestine situation is very complicated.
Well, what does the CDC say about it?
They've got a new map out. Yeah. No, they're fine with it. They're going to keep on, for some reason, not regulating big ag. We keep having listeria outbreaks, salmonella outbreaks. Not sure what's happening there, but it's not great.
Yeah, we're not going to get into it in the show, but I just watched a video right before hopping on here. Well, a while ago, because I was prepping right before the show.
No, I know you prepping. You're doing your prep, your debate.
But
prep.
It was on how artificial fibers are really dangerous for us, like things like polyester, because it's all compound from microplastics. It's probably accurate. I mean, they've already discovered, like, Gore-Tex was really terrible for us, and back in our generation, everybody who skied wore Gore-Tex.
Yeah, I remember Gore-Tex.
And it's the new
everything, yeah,
right. And some of in Teflon, obviously, and some of the stuff is so bad, like even just touching it can get all that stuff into your body. And basically, I don't know. I'm not getting into the science of it now, but just try to stay with natural shit as much as you can. It's a truth.
Horrible. It is so pervasive. And God, I can't remember the scientist I was reading who said it is so pervasive, it's hard to avoid. The one piece of advice that this person, the scientist, gave that everyone should try to do is not to heat up anything in plastic, even if it says it's microwave safe. He said on an individual level, if you're only trying to do something for yourself, don't heat things up in plastic, even if it says microwave safe. And my two kids, I mean, this is so crazy, but when I first had them, their bottles were not only their bottles plastic, but to purify them, you put them in a big plastic container with some water and then put all of the plastic in the microwave.
Hot plastic on hot plastic action. Let's do it.
I mean, it's like, yeah.
Well, since every meal I eat pretty much comes out of my microwave, this is not reassuring at all here.
Is there a way that you could just take like a frozen dinner kind of thing?
No, I don't do frozen dinners, but just microwave burritos. Actually, most of the time these things I wrap them in paper towels and call it a day.
Yeah.
That's kind of my go-to, but I do put a lot of plastic in the microwave, which I'm going to stop.
I think you should stop. And I'm glad you've got the wire earpods. Kimmy, thank you. I appreciate that. I can't even talk about it. I start crying.
Oh,
I'm okay.
Did you even mention that on the show? I don't even know.
Was
I not listening? Because you could have had a whole story you told about it.
I talked about it on Wednesday, saying I was going to be sad today, and I'm actually I'm getting teary. You should say something, because I can't believe both my babies. I mean, Asher's here till Saturday.
Gotcha. Both her kids are going off to college, and that's what this is about. She's all verklempt.
I am verklempt.
This is her acting. She's been telling me, holy shit, I cannot wait until those fuckers are out of my house. I got plans for their rooms.
Yeah, sure. Although you will get to enjoy now that we can go back to being truly COVID safe here, you can come down and visit, and you'll have a room to yourself, which you would love.
I'm moving in. Let's do it.
Moving in. And sorry, Kimmy, that's so sweet. I thanked you for remembering, but also thank you and cheers. Thank you for the super chat. That's very kind, and we really appreciate it. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna try not to cry. The more I drink, though, the more sort of emotional and memory like focused I get. And but we had a really fun night last night. We brought in dinner, we watched a silly show, we played board games, and we sang karaoke. So it was a fun night. It was a good send-off. And
there you go.
I will be fine. Just sometimes when I think about it, I get a little catch in my throat, but I'm gonna be okay. All right. What do you think?
I think we thank our members.
Thank you all. Look at how the numbers are growing. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Seriously.
2 more members, and we need a new font or a second sheet or something. So this is a pledge drive today. We need just 2 more members to fill this sheet up.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are awesome. So cheers to all of you. Thank you. Thank you. Whoops. And I am gonna take that. We both pressed it at the same time, huh? I'm gonna get right into it. Okay. Should we spin the wheel? Should we bring a little joy? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, let's spin the wheel, and then we got a cheers we can do, and we'll get this thing going here.
Oh yeah, that's right. Look at that. Okay. All right, I'm gonna spin the wheel. Let's do it.
Yeah, baby.
Look at that. We have a here. I am going to close it. And what do you think, Pat? Which one?
Let's go JFK.
Let's do it.
What kind of a peace do I mean, and what kind of a peace do we seek? Not a Pax Americana, enforced on the world by American weapons of war. Not the peace of the grave or the security of the slave. I am talking about genuine peace, the kind of peace that makes life on earth worth living, the kind that enables men and nations to grow and to hope and build a better life for their children. Not merely peace for Americans, but peace for all men and women. Not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time. I speak of peace because of the new face of war. Total war makes no sense in an age where great powers can maintain large and relatively invulnerable nuclear forces and refuse to surrender without resort to those forces. It makes no sense in an age where a single nuclear weapon contains almost 10 times the explosive force delivered by all the Allied air forces in the Second World War. No single simple key to this peace. No grand or magic formula to be adopted by one or two powers. Genuine peace must be the product of many nations, the sum of many acts. It must be dynamic, not static, changing to meet the challenge of each new generation. For peace is a process, a way of solving problems. With such a peace, there will still be quarrels and conflicting interests, as there are within families and nations. World peace, like community peace, does not require that each man love his neighbor. It requires only that they live together in mutual tolerance, submitting their disputes to a just and peaceful settlement.
So crazy that nobody talks like that anymore. We have Kamala up there saying we're going to have the most lethal army in the world. Anthony Blinken's our top diplomat and can't promote genocide fast enough or slaughter, 500,000 Ukrainians in the proxy war against, what is happening?
I mean, on the substance, you don't hear any of that, obviously, but just on the tone of it, the inspirational piece to it, the unifying way of discourse. It's like now you just get these cornball spewed out speeches that are just like AI, write me a speech like I'm the president. And then that's what their speech is.
Yeah. It's all kind of like George W., bravado, like that. in Texas, we call that swagger. We call that talking, or whatever the hell he said. Like, just, yeah, it's really, really unfortunate. And obviously I know he was not a perfect president, but 6 months later, they got rid of him. They did not like where he was going. He was also, I think, trying to make AIPAC register as a foreign lobby, which, I think that was 3 days before he was killed.
That and nationalizing the banks, right? Aren't those the three?
Yeah,
the two things. So the question is, did AIPAC get him or did the banks get him? Is kind of where I'm headed with that one.
Or CIA.
Yeah. Well, CIA on behalf of either of those interests.
Right. I mean, exactly. Like, when people say, why is Biden, what's his name? Israel's bitch or Netanyahu's bitch or whatever. Like, it's so much bigger than that. Like, it's not that Israel is in charge. It's the same people who are in charge of every other thing here and in the whole world. It's not,
Yeah. I mean, when you see that Kamala personally has an election at stake where she could become president and live her dream of being a blank slate all the way to the top. And she won't even budge a lick from Biden's position at her own peril. That tells you a lot about these countries are both the same. And Trump is out running ads of his little clip where he's saying that Comrade Kamala is going to end Israel. Israel won't exist if you guys elect Kamala. And that's unpopular with his people too. So it's not.
Yeah.
They're not doing
this. Get so much of their money. I mean, they get their money and their power. And it's not only that they know they're getting money from them, it's that they know money will be spent against them if they take a different tack. So it's really terrifying. And I don't totally know. Well, I know all right, this isn't the happy part. This isn't the happy part, but it is amazing to see the protests having no effect. Like, it's just devastating.
Tact hasn't changed. I mean,
nothing.
Where are we jumping into Israel? I guess we're just.
Well, okay. We didn't do our cheers. Should we start off?
Let's go back
by doing the wheel. Do we want to show something?
Let's rewind a little bit to the cheers.
Which will
something
get us
good.
Into Israel anyway, but
yeah.
Okay, so this was at the Venice Film Festival. First-time director Sarah Friedland won for Best Director for Familiar Touch, a movie that she directed. She might have written it as well. And this is how she used her time after she got her award.
Jewish American artist working in a time-based medium, I must note, I'm accepting this award on the 336th day of Israel's genocide in Gaza and 76th year of occupation. I believe it is our responsibility as film workers to use the institutional platforms through which we work to redress Israel's impunity on the global stage. I stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine in their struggle for liberation.
Grazie a Gianni Canova.
Did they cue the music to end that early? It feels like they ended her speech a little early.
It felt a little bit like that, although she got it all out and it came slow. I mean, they weren't quick. They weren't quick on it, if that's what they were trying to do. But yeah, I mean, I wonder, is her agency going to drop her? Like, they hear she gets the award and they, all of a sudden her phone's ringing from CAA and UTA and all the places, and then she does that speech and they're like, forget it, it's over. I don't know how much of that's still happening. It is amazing to me how few people are talking about this. And as we're seeing, and we're going to get into the Canary mission, which I know we've talked about before, I'm sure everybody is aware, but it's part of the Hasbara department in Israel. They funnel millions of dollars to targeting anybody who they see as being anti-Israel, anybody who protests, anybody who speaks up against genocide or occupation or apartheid, professors, students. Part of the mission is there's it's a blacklist. It's like the McCarthyism blacklist of professors and students who become unhireable. And that's happening, school's back in session, protests have started again, and already faculty and students are being arrested, threatened with suspension, expulsion, termination. So it is an ongoing project.
They are really coming out hard now. All these colleges that were allowing the protesters to protest, which is free speech at colleges, is, that's where it happens. That's where where you're going to find the most speech, because ideas are being discussed. These kids are studying all these subjects at a level we're not. I mean, maybe we are on the show a little bit, but they're reading in-depth books about the struggles of Palestinians for years, decades. And look, to not allow the discussion is just next level. And I mean, I kind of feel like I want to show the video that I pulled, because this is your alma mater.
I pulled it.
No,
Professor Frank.
We have a different one.
Oh, really? Are we going to fight again? Oh my God, we really do. That's so funny.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. We're going with mine?
Yeah. Then blame you if it sucks. No.
You are facing termination at Columbia School of Law?
It's possible, Amy. That's on the table and has never been ruled out. And in the climate in which we are now living, particularly at Columbia, things that used to be routine and expected are not happening. Where there's an overreaction by the university, a weaponization of the disciplinary system against students and faculty in ways that in my over 40 years at Columbia, I have never seen. Columbia has always been a platform for students to engage the world, learn about the world, be critical analysts of what's happening in their world, both in the classroom and outside the classroom. And what we're seeing now is that the university will no longer tolerate protests and critical engagement. I think it's important to recognize the problem here is not just what's happening in the protests outside the buildings, but they're also regulating what we can do inside the buildings. They're monitoring our syllabi. I have a colleague who was fired because he had the nerve to bring a settler colonial analysis to the Israeli project, the occupation of Palestinians, something that is done routinely in academic settings. He was told, no, that's a step too far. We can't talk that way about Israel or Palestine. And he was terminated. So not only is the university allowing itself to be weaponized by the right-wing conservative politicians in D.C. in ways that are squelching and then punishing student protests, but the faculty are now experiencing it as well. And I have to say, this is what I fear for this fall, is a new kind of surveillance, a new kind of chilling of how we teach our classes, and then the students who are in our classes actually go to the university and drop a dime, if you will, but complain about us because we have the nerve to mention Palestine in our classes. And I know several colleagues who are under investigation right now for the fact that they incorporated into their courses readings that had to do with Israel-Palestine. And the students said, oh, that made me feel uncomfortable. And therefore, I'm going to file a complaint against you that you are anti-Semitic. Almost all of these professors are Jewish professors who actually are experts in things like the Holocaust, in things like collective trauma. So the readings were relevant. But Juan, our campus has become unrecognizable.
That's the exact clip that I also pulled. It's
I just
okay.
Noticed that.
Yeah, it's fine. She's great. And she's right. And the other part of it is that places like Columbia, especially, pride themselves on their history of social movements. They actually, exalt those movements on their websites to lure people in for applicants, right? The protest against the Vietnam War, the protest in the 90s against and late 80s, apartheid South Africa, right? So like they talk about that with a point of pride.
Yeah. I mean, to me, when you look at this, it's like, okay, McCarthyism back in the day, the Russia blacklisting, fear mongering stuff, largely the public bought into the argument for it. At least, you know, they were sold on this message of communism and that this speech is dangerous. And that was the big lesson they learned many years later, is that we shouldn't let the government take us down this path. But now our government is so wholly owned that the public doesn't support what all these leaders are doing. They're not, it's not like this propaganda worked on us. And now the public goes, you know what? Yeah, I'm glad fire that teacher. No, that's not what's happening. What's happening is our government is controlled by the big donors, and that Hasbro has worked on our politicians, not our public, the politicians. And it shows how powerless we are, that they're now coming after the protesters, which is why they're building these massive cop cities, because they know in the future, everything is going to be less and less popular to the public because we know too much.
Yeah, 100%. You know, Vincent Bevins, who wrote the Jakarta Method, and then has a new book out on revolution, like how to get there, basically. And one of his points is that when the police start cracking down and the authorities start cracking down, that, and I'm not built for this, but that is when the revolution starts. And, you know, in 100 years, I have a feeling, if humanity survives the climate disaster and every other thing, this will be right before the climax. I do think things are going to change because people, you know, the income inequality, the lack of a democracy, you know, watching what's happening in France, where the snap election happens, the left coalition wins, Macron just completely ignores everything for like 45 days or something, meets with the far right, like actual fascist Marine Le Pen, and just appointed another actual right-wing fascist, Barnier, and like completely disregards the results of the election. So I think, you know, again, like I don't want a real revolution. Like I don't want what that actually entails. I don't want the violence. I don't want like it's terrifying to me, but also we cannot continue like this. This is horrifying. They're just like complete impunity, right? Like Israel is like the ICC is issuing arrest warrants. They're saying it's an apartheid and a genocide. Just said that the occupation is illegal. And now what's Israel doing? They're just turning around and doing what they did in Gaza to the West Bank. And like nobody's doing anything. They're killing Americans. Nobody's doing anything. Like not that it's not because I think American life or US life is more important than Palestinian life, but like, you know, we saw when one hostage who was Israeli American or American Israeli, whatever, was killed, which is horrible. You know, Biden, the full force of the US on Hamas against this. Meanwhile, when it happens to peaceful protesters, there's nothing. When it happens to a press member, when it happens to a UN worker, a kitchen, you know, an aid worker, nothing.
Right. Well, I think what we're seeing is, look, okay, first stop, let's try voting people in to do something about it. Come on. We know that doesn't work anymore. Yeah. So get the public on your side. Well, the public's already on their side on this issue. Yeah. So protest, disrupt. Well, you know, there's a lot of protests. We need to move more towards disruption. We need to move more towards things that harm them financially. Yeah. And that's the only shot we have at things. I mean, other than the actual,
you're right,
you know, violence, which is why
they're making the BDS movement illegal in so many states.
Of course, they're going to criminalize, you know, that's what these cop cities are all about. I mean, but I mean, by all means, attend the protests and put it. Protest, it's just a check on the box. Here's the number. Look how many people support this issue. The public sees it. And then they look at the news and they're like, well, the news is barely reporting it, but look, the public fucking gets it. So it makes you feel not insane for supporting this issue, but it's not changing things is the point right now. It's not changing things. We need further steps, more action.
Yeah, and it does feel like, if we, I mean, it is international solidarity, and labor unions we keep hearing about, and it's great. Like, yes, keep expanding. I know that they're more popular than ever. They actually can get some great results. I think as much as we have problems with Sean Fain for different issues, I do, and like, he never should have endorsed Kamala. Like, why would you do that to somebody committing a genocide, which you are supposedly trying to represent your rank and file members, and they also agree that they don't want to be supporting the genocide with their labor. So all of that is incredibly frustrating, disappointing, revolting. However, the idea of this is too far away for what's happening in Gaza and COVID and climate. But in 2028, if all unions had their expiration date on their contracts so that a general strike could be called on May 1st for everybody, but that's 3 years away, or what are we in? 4 years away. I mean, what, like, one night in what's happening in Gaza, I can't even imagine.
Right. But even that, why so far away? Like, why not 2 years away? I mean, forgetting Gaza, as forgetting the Palestine conflict,
right,
but
right.
Like 4 years away, it just,
I know
it's something, but it's not doing it.
Yeah, it's like form a committee, do an investigation. So yeah, okay. So there's Professor Frank at Columbia. There's Stephen Thrasher, the viral underclass, the writer of the viral underclass, who was very pleased when he saw Ben Affleck's daughter, Violet Affleck, holding
Reading
that
his
with
book.
her, in 95.
She's amazing.
Yes, she's amazing. But he also is, he's been suspended from Northwestern. He's a journalism professor there. And all he's done, from what I've seen, and he shares a lot of footage. I mean, nobody's ever said it's because he was violent, right? Like, I haven't seen those accusations lobbed. Like, you're allowed actually to be an anti-Semite. I don't think that being anti-Zionist is not the same as being an anti-Semite, critiquing, being revolted by, despising the politics of Israel and that settler colonial state, is not anti-Semitic, but it's actually legal to hate a group in this country. Like, you're allowed to, even if it were that, you're allowed to have hateful thoughts. Like, that's part of our country. You're allowed to feel that way. So how isn't this being challenged by the ACLU, by every, lawyer, civil rights lawyer? Like, we're just forgetting what this country is supposed to be. Did I just freeze, or did you? Or are you thinking about what I said? Oh, am I frozen, or are you? Can anybody hear me? I don't know. Does anybody still see me? Am I the one, or is it Pat? Hello. Anyone? Pat's frozen. Okay, thank you. Pat, you're frozen. I don't know if you can hear me, but you should exit and come back. I did not want to say it before, but now that Pat's frozen, I'm going to say it. I think I've had where I haven't frozen at all, so I'm knocking on wood. All right. So the Israel lobby, there's actually a really, Elon Pop is one of the new historians. And that's why I don't think Pat should. Oh, no, I'm kidding. See what I did there?
I know what you did there. This beef over the video clip has gone too far, Lila.
I pressed eject. I ejected you. I froze you.
Damn.
It's short, but a clip with Elon Pape and Chris Hedges talking about how the lobby, which is, it's the canary mission, it's APAC, it's the Department of Hasbro, all of that working together. It isn't working on the people, as you were saying. Like, it's just, it's just like when they say, oh, we just need to convince more people about Medicare for all. People are convinced. They're convinced on all of it. We all know. We know the truth. We know that this is a genocide. Yeah. It's an apartheid system based on settler colonialism. We know that.
All of it kind of reminds me like the Pussy Hat protests, right? Which at the time, my girlfriend, who was apolitical, suddenly for the first time is like getting involved and wanting to go to a protest. And I mean, it's about how vile Trump is, and abortion rights, of course, but then what happens? We lose all those rights under the Democrats. And so immediately all the protesting stopped, all the fighting for these issues stopped, and
Me Too stopped, defund the police, or Black Lives Matter stopped.
Absolutely.
Right?
And so they're hoping like, we can just make this go away with Kamala. And she's literally out there saying the exact same stuff that Biden is. So what happens if she wins? A lot of these protesters are going to go away, which is pathetic, but not as many as they think is the point. I think we still.
I think so too. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I was never going to vote for her anyway. What they have done to democracy by denying us primaries, by forcing Biden on us, forcing Kamala on us, no policies. We're now such a big tent that we are welcoming Dick Cheney, the Lincoln Project, like all of that. It is so vile. But the worst thing is they're not going to change their tactic or approach to this genocide. And like, nobody can support that because, first of all, it is so horrifying that this is even happening. But also, even again, and I know we talk about this all the time, but even just in your own self-interest, what that means is if you support them in this and pretend that it's okay that they're doing a genocide after 80% of their own party is against it, and you vote for that, you're never going to get healthcare. You're never going to get abortion rights. You're never going to get gun control. We're never going to get good public education or infrastructure, anything that we want, ever.
That's the case. That's the situation we're in. And I just don't see how. I don't know how you can cast your vote for the party responsible for all the atrocities there just because the other guy says it might be worse, but like they're doing it now. Never before in history has anyone allowed Israel to go this far as the Democrats literally are.
Yep. I mean, sorry, I know we know this, but just so nobody tags us for fake news. Oh my God, did you freeze again? You keep
Here, you
oh, you did for a second, but now you're okay.
What in the shit is going on today?
I don't know. I do think part of it is that I don't know how hot it is where you are, but it's like 112 here, and everything is lagging because our power grids are so overtaxed. What was your last point?
I don't know. Something I know I was right. That's all I remember.
You were right, and I see Devin keeps writing this, which is cracking me up. But yeah,
block him.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I do think that that's what it is. People want to be happy. They don't like being reminded of COVID, of climate, of healthcare. None of it really affects liberals all that much. Like, how in the world could anybody be pleased that we're such a, I'm not a Democrat anymore, but that we're such a big party, such a broad tent, that now we're the party of Dick Cheney?
Well, I mean, I think we're going to stick on Israel right now.
Okay,
right?
okay, yeah.
But yes, we will get into that. It's disgusting. But let's wrap the Israel part up with what's going on.
Still to go, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's news now that the Hannibal Directive. I mean, we've known this for a long time, but Israel is actually admitting that some of these atrocities on October 7th.
Yeah. And by the way, Israel actually admitted it, or I mean, different generals, Israeli generals
at the time.
admitted. Yeah. Yeah. And for months, I mean, there was the tweet by Rafid Al-Arir from October 7th. Right here from October 7th on the bottom there. Israeli warplanes target and kill some of their own Israeli captured soldiers as they are transported into Gaza. Then a few weeks later, in November, the end of November, he says, I called it. I knew this. Then Mondoweiss and the Gray Zone and Al Jazeera and Electric Intifada had confirmation from generals that they shot up their own people because they didn't want them to be taken into Gaza. And we knew that because the weaponry that Hamas had was nowhere near powerful enough to do the damage to all those burned out cars that were burned from above, the homes. That wasn't possible with the weaponry that Hamas had. So, but the fact that ABC, that was an ABC report from yesterday or 2 days ago, is finally coming out with it. And then I don't know, because I don't watch CNN or MSNBC, but like crickets. Are they talking about this?
And that's the problem. Like we knew on October 7th, people following left politics knew right away a lot of this stuff was happening. 10 months later, the general public is starting to learn about this. I mean, the people that are really committed to the mainstream media are first learning this stuff now.
But are they like, I don't even know if it's
no, you're right. But there, it's just like a fact checking, we lied about all that stuff on that one day and it's gone,
And like, look at all the torture camps, like Sadeh Taiman and the, all the rapes, the torture, like that huge report from B'Tselem that was saying it's not just the one place. It is a systematic prison camp structure of torture. Nobody's talking about that. No one's talking about the mass rapes that Israel has been doing against Palestinians.
That's what we know as informed leftists, is that none of this would be allowed to happen if the public really knew it all from the start. Like they couldn't have gotten away with this to this point. And CNN staff is actually having a internal revolt now.
Yeah.
And if I read this article, and what they go on to explain is that a lot of their wartime journalists that would normally be covering something of this importance are off the story. And that's because they won't cover it knowing the situation, knowing that they would have to show some balance. And that's why you get people like Dana Bash leading the charge on the international journalism, regarding Israel.
Well, and they took off the reporters 100%, and we'll show the protester, but they took off their journalists who were either Arab American, Muslim American, Palestinian American, showed any solidarity or sympathy. I mean, remember at the very beginning, they were told by the White House not to say certain words, not to talk about occupying, or it wasn't even genocide at that point. It was like they were given words they were not allowed to say.
Yeah, it's like we see in all the
ceasefire.
Articles.
Right? All right. I see a lot of people saying to spin. We can come back, but maybe we do need like a little drink or something, huh?
I agree. And I pronounced Dana wrong again. I will always
She
do
deserves
that.
it. Yeah,
baby.
Yeah.
Not another here.
Not another here. I'm gonna spin again. We need a dose of fun. One second. I'm closing this. Wait, close it. All right.
Yeah, baby.
Look at that.
Get behind that.
I can get behind that. Gonna refill my drink. Am I spinning again for a time fund or something? Oh my God, they really want that here. I'm gonna.
This is the opposite of your normal MO right here.
I know. All right, here we go.
Yeah, baby.
That's more your track, at least.
Ask
Keep spinning.
and shall receive. Let's go. Let's go. We got a request for some kittens. I mean, you know, Pat, we can just put up whatever we want.
Trying to keep it a democracy.
Timeline cleanse. There you go. Yeah. Look at that. I can't believe it. We were so
Do we
lucky.
want a Kamala parody, Alex Jones song, or memes in real life? Let's get a vote or two here. Anybody? Bueller.
Bueller. We're
Somebody
a little
quick.
Should we get something?
Well, that you guys didn't pick, so we're gonna watch memes in real life.
I like that. That was good. That was a timeline cleanse, Pat. I needed it. I need to refill my drink. Very
Perfect.
nice.
I needed a cold beer. I was drinking some warm stuff because I'm drinking so slowly.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Stop drinking slowly. Why would you ever?
I don't know.
Okay, let's do we want to watch the Dana Bash thing? Did everybody see it? I feel like probably everybody saw it. You know, she
was at a book speaking tour.
Yeah. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, everything the person says is just like, you are not commenting on a genocide. The only thing Dana Bash says is take off your mask, which is like, what the fuck? What, like, that's your response?
Like you're hiding, like, oh, you're a closet
terrorist,
anti-Semitic terrorist.
Yeah. And then of course, Jake Tapper has to, you know, weigh in saying that it's all about anti-Semitism. I mean, I do think, you know, two things. One is I think a lot of people just don't care anymore if that is lobbed against them. Like, I think for a long time it was something that was a chilling effect, but I think people have seen it being used too much, which is also, you know,
that's sad because it's the cry wolf situation. And obviously, I mean, Dick Tapper came out and said, you know, they're only doing this because it's a female Jewish person, you know, like, you guys are too weak to do it, you know, and it's racism rooted, obviously. Sorry, let's get him out there promoting a book and see what fucking happens, because it's ridiculous. And he's cherry picking here because there are hundreds of videos of politicians and news journalists being interrupted constantly with the exact same thing.
100%. I did just want to say, so he put out some crappy, stupid tweet about they're protesting her at her home in this event because she's Jewish, which is not at all true. There's nothing about her coverage of the Israel-Hamas war that is different from most other news coverage, which is true, unfortunately. But they all suck. And, you know, last week when she was our worst of the week, we showed many instances of her getting things wrong, repeating lies, saying at least the IDF doesn't rape Palestinians, never issued a correction to any of it. It's
both a lie, and she's, of all the people, she's heavily pushing this protesters are anti-Semitic trope.
Yeah.
So of all the people, she's one of the biggest people in the media, and they've elevated her.
Heard it to crystal knocked.
For this very reason is why she's been elevated. She's out there saying protesters are basically anti-Semitic. Like she's making that moral equivalency, and that's why they love her. That's why she's getting targeted with more of this shit.
Exactly.
And she should.
She should be. Going back to Columbia, though, I will say I was pleased to see that there is a big group of Jewish professors who are voicing their concern, because right now, the definition of Zionism and anti-Zionism being conflated with anti-Semitism is, first of all, inaccurate.
Wait, Lila, can I just say, I wish I had I ain't reading all that Free Palestine thing to put up over your image. That was a lot. That was a lot.
I know, but I like to have
back to the seriousness.
But I remember being at Columbia. There's a core curriculum there, right? And it's like the great Western literature and great Western philosophy, and then the second half is more modern. And I think probably there are a lot of criticisms that would be well-founded, that it is too heavily reliant on old white dead men, but they do then bring in other cultures, other sexes, other orientations, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, reading the Bible, we would talk, I'm underlining the Bible, highlighting things, taking notes in the margins. We're talking about the character of God and how he changes from the Old Testament to the New Testament. And it was actually a lot of Orthodox Jews who would get up and walk out during those classes. They did not want to talk about.
No challenge.
Yeah. And they have that right. But this is such a horrifying slippery slope where you cannot talk about the well-documented history of Israel being formed as a settler colonial state. That's actually not up for debate. That's just what it is. It's what they talked about in the late 1800s and early 1900s. That's just a fact. And now, because people understand, when I was younger and we would talk about the settlers in the US, I didn't understand what that actually meant or the colonies.
Yeah. Settlers. What's a settler? Yeah, right.
They were those, rough and tumble Midwestern ladies who went out with their wagons and, the prairie women, whatever.
Yeah. But that choice of words does in itself, they wanted to convey the wild, wild west, this is open, untouched land, and they just put their flag up. So we settled here. No, they actually kicked people out of their fucking homes and created a dual citizenship right off the bat.
Yes. Yeah. So now that people understand it, they don't want to use that terminology. And that's what those Jewish professors were talking about. Sorry, we're not going to have to read all that. Free Palestine. Go ahead.
Free Palestine. Let's hear from Naomi Klein. I think she said it pretty well here.
Yeah. Zionism was an anti-Semitic idea from the start. It was always a kind of presented as a win-win to European powers of you get rid of your Jews and we get a state that will be your sort of sub-imperial power in the Middle East. And so there were many Jews who opposed Zionism, before the Holocaust, because they saw it as an anti-Semitic idea that was just European states wanting to get rid of their Jews, and that was going to further demote Jews as sort of second and third class citizens, because why aren't you in Palestine, right? I mean, to the extent that the only opponent of the Balfour Declaration in the British cabinet was the only Jewish member, Edwin Montagu, who said this was an anti-Semitic idea.
People don't like to hear that. Thanks, Adria. We should just call it even. I don't need to freeze you or eject you anywhere.
Excellent. And I want to give credit to Lila, who found that clip, even though I also found it. But,
yeah, I think that really has to be understood. But you're right. Most people do understand it. What is going to happen? All right, I know we're not at this point yet. People are just going to vote for her, huh? All right. What else do we have to say about Israel? Where are we on our
well, pulled something positive. It wasn't a timeline cleanse, but I wanted
All
to
right,
show it just because I liked it. So
You want credit.
wow.
I said I pulled that too. It was going to be my cheers.
You're kidding.
And then I pulled the other one. Yeah. That's funny.
It's a great creative idea though, because like it's the temporary installation, you're not offending, you're not harming anything. They show his name at the end. I'm not sure.
This is a Brazilian artist, João Bruto Adney in Dublin. But he's a Brazilian artist doing this in Dublin.
You did pull this clip, didn't you? You also pulled it, but
I also did.
look at you with notes. See, I don't take notes. Notes are
I wanted to, give him props. But yeah, that was really amazing and a great way to do it. I'm sure they'll find a way to criminalize that also. But I mean, really, these are scary, dangerous times. Did we already talk about the fact? Yeah, Stephen Thrasher. Also in the UK, Sarah Wilkinson was arrested. She is a pro-Palestinian activist and journalist, banned from using her phone or laptop for supporting Palestine. She's out now, but they haven't even explicitly told her what the grievances are. Also, Richard Medhurst. And listen, I know, here's the thing. Some people that we bring up who are being affected by these or targeted have parts of their history that I have not delved far enough into to know the truth of them. Whether or not those other issues happen, the fact that these people are being targeted now for their pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel, anti-genocide takes should make us all concerned because, first of all, free speech. Second, whether or not the things that he's been accused of are true or not, those accusations will be lobbed at all of us at some point, and it will be hard to get out of them. And I think it's really important to deal with each episode as it's occurring, and not like if we have to go into everybody's past and say if they are a worthy victim or worthy of free speech or civil rights, we all are going to lose.
Yeah, look, if you're blatantly paid by another government to spread misinformation, okay, get that information out to the public so that it's transparent to people.
Right.
But I still don't think you should not have a platform. I mean, I don't know,
I mean,
hear from people.
It was like young girls or something. I don't even totally know.
Challenge their ideas.
But he was arrested at the airport. They took all of his stuff, and it was only because of the Palestinian stuff. And the other thing that I think can be a little terrifying is that then when you know that a person has anti-establishment or anti sort of acceptable ideas and has for a while, it does kind of call into question if the other accusations against that person are true,
we saw,
or if it was being
WikiLeaks and Assange,
we saw.
So somebody was asking about Strike, and Strike is here. Strike, is your eye okay? Her eye was closed early this morning because I think she got popped by my older cat teaching her a lesson.
Oh no. Like a scratch cornea or something?
Yeah, probably something like that. But
she's fine now.
I don't want to say she deserved it because this is cat abuse, domestic cat abuse. But she's kind of an asshole to my big cat. So
yeah. I think you are right, Kimmy.
Yeah, so
I think you're right.
I mean, on that level, look, we know there's a story breaking about RT and a lot of platforms getting straight up Russian paid to spread Russian misinformation.
Although, is it misinformation? Because I can't even see, like, is it misinformation, or is it just like what Russia wants to, if Russia wants to sow more chaos in the US,
well,
and they like push the, racial injustice or how great their supermarkets are with Tucker Carlson or whatever, like,
right, just propaganda.
Yeah.
Look, and at the end of the day, the US is guilty of that as any other country on earth. Like we do, especially when you talk about fucking with people's elections. We literally go in and fund the people, make countries totally withholden to us for all the money.
Yeah.
So that we can elect, all their resources are owed to us for decades because we helped elect a dictator who was a terrible person to overthrow the other guy, but he was going to give us the diamond resources or the oil resources or the lithium, whatever, lithium. So we're just as bad at that. But anyway, back to the RT stuff and the misinformation. I think transparency is what needs to happen. You need to know these people are likely pushing an agenda. So I don't mind when the labeling happens on some level. Like there's, I think community notes is the way in a large part, something along those lines where it's like, this is what a lot of people think about the guy who's saying this, but you're still allowed to hear the guy say this kind of thing. Yeah.
And again, like I've not yet seen the misinformation. Like I haven't seen. Yeah.
Let me give you an example. Yeah. A former ally of a lot of the left, Fiorella.
Oh, okay.
Who worked for, she left a podcaster, Jimmy Dore adjacent.
Yeah.
Started saying all this stuff about January 7th was no big deal. She's like, it's all families and people and no violence. And
January 6th.
January 6th, and then pivoted to COVID's no big deal.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. And then took a job straight up working in Russia now for RT.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but
okay.
With her, for example.
For sure. Yeah.
Look at her adjacent groups of people.
Right.
And they're all libertarian right now, where they were all Bernie left before.
Yeah.
Right. So, but do I think she shouldn't have a platform on Twitter, for example? No. Yeah. But I think it's okay for people to, you don't censor them. You get the information out about what they are, what they could be. And I think that's different.
That is different. And listen, I mean, obviously we run propaganda across the whole world. Apparently Venezuela has truly given the US the boot, and we are now no longer trying to stage a second coup in the last 5 years. But in regards to this latest Russia thing, which apparently is true, it feels a little bit like the 2016 Russia influence campaign, which was like, Bernie as Superman or like rainbows and like, it's not great. And I think we should not be able to do it to other countries. I think probably Russia shouldn't be able to do it to us, all of that. But like, I haven't really seen there's, but this is what they're going to go with if what's her face loses, right? It's Biden administration will accuse Moscow of using Kremlin run media and other online platforms to target US voters with disinformation. But again, and maybe it will be disinformation. I don't know. I haven't seen it. In 2016, it was either silly cartoon memes or trying to push, like, agree with the racial tensions and kind of like put them out there. But it wasn't disinformation, actually. Before.
Right. I mean, they largely shared one of the most shared and promoted things by this alleged Russiagate stuff, which was allegedly against Bernie. I mean, against Hillary, was Joy Reid's stuff. And Joy Reid spent her whole time bashing Bernie. Yeah. So that obviously doesn't help Hillary get elected. It's sowing discontent, I suppose, but it was not helping her get elected. And, at one point they put out they notified anyone on Twitter who had shared Russian misinformation. Right. And I was a huge prominent Bernie person at the time. Nothing I shared was misinformation. So like, just for reference on that stuff, it didn't happen, But back to it actually being a thing, because it is a thing. They are going to be a part of it. So there's a connection to the Russian Freedom Convoy, you know, and this is where a lot of the Jimmy Dore right went off to.
Right.
Now, I think the Jimmy Dore right was more from the libertarian billionaire who was also part of this stuff.
Right.
But, you know, foreign influence, all these influences should just be known. Like, you should know who is behind this
Who's
stuff
paying
and make your own judgment, not censor them.
Yeah. And by the way, like, I think, you know, often there's a real organic spark. I think a lot of people are against, and by the way, a lot of people on the left, truly on the left, are against mandates. And especially when we have, listen, as I've said a million times, I am vaxxed to the hilt. I've gotten every booster. I can't wait for Novavax to come out. I've done all of it. But we have a public health department and FDA that are wholly captured by big business. So I understand why people are hesitant and maybe don't want vax mandates. You know, I think there's a difference between a vax mandate and a mask mandate, right? One's invasive and one isn't.
100%.
So I think a lot of truckers who were in those convoys maybe actually did have that, right?
Of course. The whole
especially
thing
when they see Justin Trudeau, just like Gavin Newsom, off like partying when everybody else is supposed to not go inside a restaurant, right? Like there's a lot of things like that. Or
of course,
the transfer of money. I know you're trying to say something. I just the transfer of money to like big business and small businesses lose all of their, lose their businesses and all of that. Like I understand all of that, but I just think
the difference is big donors having a bigger impact than people realize. Like this thing was funded by a libertarian billionaire, Russians, that kind of stuff should be known as soon as possible, put out to the world. Now back to the mandate stuff and the misinformation stuff. From the jump, I was against suppressing information, even if it's bullshit. You should let people speak. Let them say their mind. We've been caught up multiple times for spreading truth about COVID stuff that's just scientifically backed up left and right because of this policy of like, you've got to toe the government line. And we don't want to ever get to where we have to toe the government line. And that's why you have to let shitty speech exist. But I don't think there's a problem with labeling it, identifying it.
Yeah. I think everything should be transparent, just like everybody should know that the reason there was a socially constructed end to the pandemic was because Wall Street CEOs hired McKinsey and Big Pharma hired McKinsey to figure out a way to get everybody back to work, take your masks off, we'll sell more Paxlovid. We should all know that. It was not based on science. Like it should be transparent.
Right.
100%.
100%. And I think we both agreed. I mean, I remember from the start being on Tina's show, right when the pandemic broke out.
Yeah.
And, she was for mandates for vaxes and I was not for mandates for vaxes. I was for mandates for masking because
that
masking
other people.
And if you're wrong about masking, you just wore a mask for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's not
just like no shirt, no shoes,
just a
no
basic
service.
Fucking thing to do until you know more. And now that we know more, masking should be standard and unchallenged by anybody. I mean,
it's so pathetic. And yeah, exactly. This was maybe the worst thing. In addition to Fauci saying, don't even wear masks, they don't help, motherfucker, was that awful. It wasn't the Lancet. It was what was that study? Who did that?
Oh,
study? It was just the C, but I can't remember. Gosh, darn it.
The mass study. Somebody help us.
Yeah.
Anyway, we all know we're talking
the Cochrane review.
Cochrane study.
Cochrane. Yeah. Anyway, which they didn't even say the thing that was pulled from it by the whole Jimmy Dore crowd and all those people. That's not what they even said in that. They were actually talking about mandates not necessarily working, but also a lot of their studies were from pre-COVID in other countries. Like it was, people just took that. It's been debunked. They have even at the Cochrane review distance themselves from the way it's been reported, but I'll still see it in, the New York Times, LA Times when they talk about it. Anyway, all right. We are really wildly off.
We're pivoting into 2024 and COVID.
Yeah.
So I think we should spin the wheel and go into one or the other. What do you think?
Absolutely. Are we totally done with
Israel? The Palestine?
Yeah, we are, right? I'm just looking to see if there's any other thing.
This is what we're seeing out at the colleges now.
God.
So you're not allowed to protest, but there's a play going around about October 7th hitting UCLA. I mean, we're talking about liberal, quote, in the good version of liberal schools. This is allowed, but protesting is not.
Protesting is not allowed. And what happened on October 7th, especially now that more and more of the world knows that there were no rapes, there were no beheadings, and many people who were killed by IDF. And every day since then has been another October 7th, basically, for Palestinians. And it continues with our funding. It is just amazing where the focus lies. Just like, when those 6 hostages were just shown to be killed by Hamas recently, and everyone's talking about their names and the American Israeli man who was killed, and that's where the focus is. And has Biden or Kamala, I don't even know if we have a president right now, whatever, who cares, but are they talking about the fact that an American was just killed protesting?
No.
Nothing.
But
And they keep talking about her as Turkish American.
Recipes from her. You want some recipes? Because I can give you some recipes.
Kamala,
I can tell you how she does chicken.
It's the only good thing about her, actually. If she stuck to that, I would rather have anybody with a good recipe who would just, those are the only good points about her.
We'll get into that.
Her greens and her turkey. Okay, I'm spinning. Here I go.
Yeah, baby.
Look at that. Look at that. Plus, everyone should feel free to fill up their glasses or take a hit.
Amen. We're here. Since we're pivoting to 2020, let's do 2020 next. Let's do a Kamala parody. This is a person on the right looking at Kamala. So it's not the normal woman there's a great woman that does her, but this is from the right.
Anna, you okay in there? In a minute. Madam VP, you're on in 3.
Oh,
when I grew up, and back when I had to go to college to get ahead in life. Back then, I used to take a class, and it was called ecology. Some people here know what I'm talking about.
It's the same lady.
I remember being a little girl and going, Mom, why are conservatives bad? No, they're ecologizing. They're They're conserving. God damn, this is good shit. And I didn't reconcile it until now. But I have. I have. I reconciled it, and I don't know why I told this. It was just such a good story. It sounded better in my head, but shout out to CIA. That's some really good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to pull Zachariah's thing. That woman, I saw her, I think on Mark Lamont Hill. She is a comedian. She is roasting Kamala, but she is going to vote for her.
Oh, God.
I know. Even
So
if that was yeah, that was disgusting. She makes her greens in the bathtub. She washes them because she said there's so much. She washes them in the bathtub. Kamala has, I think, grown her wealth by $20 million in the last 4 years. I bet she has a couple of, like, an island with a kitchen sink and another kitchen. Like, don't wash your greens in the bathtub.
Yeah, look, all I'm going to say as a white guy about this is I saw a video from a black person saying that's not a black thing. I don't know. It sounds like she's trying to downplay her stature but maybe it's a legit thing. I don't, what the fuck do I know about it? So who knows?
Yeah.
But like,
I don't know, but
I don't want to hear
gross.
about her recipes. I want to hear about her policy. And they're running around doing little ice cream socials and talking about recipes. Yeah. And the only time we hear from her, here's when we hear from her right here. This is this week when they're endorsing, when Cheney endorsed her, we hear from her. We don't, nothing else. The press gets to ask her a question about Dick Cheney fucking endorsing her.
No, this
is I'm honored to have their endorsement, and I think that what they both, as leaders who are well respected, are making an important statement that it's okay, and if not important, to put country above party. And I'm honored to have their support, and I think it's an important statement right now. A lot of what I think is happening, and I was just talking with some folks here in Pittsburgh about it, is that people are exhausted about the division and the attempts to kind of divide us as Americans. And them stepping up to make this public statement, I think, is courageous, but also for people like the folks I was just talking with, it really reinforces for them that we love our country and we have more in common than what separates us.
She should have repudiated. Like, what level? If David Duke or like some grandmaster of the KKK endorses you, like,
what about Bernie having to walk back so many?
I mean, I do not want to be part of a party that is broad enough to include the Cheneys, the Lincoln Project, Nicole Wallace, all of those George W. Bush war criminals. George W. Bush was, before Biden, the worst president of my life. He stole an election, definitely in 2000, and probably in 2004. He lied us into the Iraq war, where he killed 1 million people at least and destroyed, the Middle East even more than the US had already been destroying it. They were like evil. Dick Cheney is an evil, disgusting man. And the fact that liberals are taking it as a win that you're the party of Dick Cheney now. And even, Bernie.
Yeah. Bernie out there saying, yeah.
Bernie said, there we both did it. Oh my God. Okay, I'm not doing it anymore. Bernie Sanders on Meet the Press. Cheney and I agree on nothing, no issues. But what we do believe in is that the United States should retain the democratic foundations. I applaud the Cheneys for their courage in defending democracy. Really? Do you remember the Brooks Brothers riots that stopped the recount, that installed? Like, that was an actual coup, an insurrection, a January 6th that was successful. He doesn't believe in democracy. And what is going on? Like, why is, I honestly, I don't understand why everybody thinks that. I mean, I hate him. I can't stand him, Trump. But you think he's worse than George W. Bush and Dick Cheney? I don't understand it. I really don't. I honestly don't get it.
Well, have you talked to Kamala Harris when she was shopping for candles? Because if you happened to be in the store moments before that, you would have understood that it's just so stressful, all this politics stuff, and you just want to relax and stuff. I mean, we have a genocide going on. You got Bernie out here saying kudos to Dick Cheney. You got Kamala running on no policy, not talking to the press, except to say, thanks, Dick Cheney.
I mean, honestly, I really like, okay, no Palestinians allowed to talk. And all they were going to do was endorse her. That was it. They were going to endorse her. But no Palestinians allowed to talk on the DNC stage. She had billionaires. She had Republicans. Nobody on the left is being welcomed into this party.
They're openly advertising that they're going right because we had no primary. They are going to the right. They don't give a shit about us.
Right now, there's just a Republican primary. That's what's happening. It's Kamala and Trump fighting for who can have the more draconian policies to shut down, to shut down protests, to lock people up, to secure the border, to do a genocide. That's all that's happening. To build the wall and flout environmental laws, to frack, to export oil. Like, this is a Republican primary.
Yeah, and when you watch TV, CNN, MSNBC, which are the only two channels I watch, their whole argument is, okay, how is she going to prove to Pennsylvania she supports fracking enough? Because she's really got to. Pennsylvania is the only state that matters. The only state that matters is Pennsylvania right now, and it's in play, and she's got to prove she's super pro fracking. Like that's what they're, and they spin it as like, because democracy's at stake, you got to stop Trump, so you got to be super pro fracking, And so I want to show, I just found this earlier today, this video.
I love that you keep taking credit for all of the things you find.
I did all the research today.
Should we just like I'm going to tag every graphic. Who found it? Who found it first?
You put a little L at the bottom right.
Timestamp. Yeah, LCL and a timestamp.
I think that would be awesome.
That'd be
cat videos right now.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah. What did you find, Pat? Tell me.
This is just the ridiculousness of the Kamala campaign right now, right here.
Kamala Harris Fashion Week party. And look how dystopian this is. Wait for it. Abortion rights are hard. It's this game with the laws or whatever, and you can play. It's a real thing, and you play for no abortion pills.
It's a game.
Ban birth control, cut Medicaid, and if you fail, you fail. America is insane. Wait. There's also, these are the cocktails, Madam President Spicy Rita.
Feeling the vibes?
Look. Hotties for Harris. There's this game.
Wait, did she put all this here, or is this just people doing it around her?
It's at the fashion show.
But it's not her people who are doing this, or is it? It's like influencers who are being. I don't know. It's also gross. Like, I think Cora wrote, but I saw that post and we didn't pull it. I didn't pull it. Neither did you. Of all the things that Kamala bought at a spice market,
was that the candle shop?
Policies. Yeah, the thing I saw was a spice shop. Was like all the different. It's multicultural spices. We're getting a Jenga of Medicare and abortion rights. Like, what? This, I don't honestly. I feel very little joy right now, apart from like small personal interactions. I feel guilty when I do feel joy. I feel guilty feeling sad that, oh my gosh, my kids are across the country for college, knowing what's happening in this world. I do not understand running a campaign of joy or making light of any of these issues, even before the genocide. Like, none of this is funny. You know what? Poor women mostly didn't have access to abortions before Roe v. Wade was overturned, because the Democratic Party doesn't actually want everybody to have free health care. And
what's your plan to get abortion rights back?
Just elect a few more Democrats, write the law, write the bill, and she's going to sign it. That's her plan. She will sign it. When Congress gives her a bill, that's her plan. She's going to sign that bill.
I don't even believe that would happen.
I'm called grab them by the fight for repro rights. You can play plinko and
Policy plinko kind of
you put this here.
Actually.
Blue state, we won. There's an abortion access ski ball, a fight for repro rights thing.
Come on.
There is a couch
The
for
couch.
Katie Vance.
Katie Vance fucks couches.
The straights as well, bros for choice. There's a hall of hotties with Megan Thee Stallion and everyone that's hot. I don't see myself, but apparently everyone. And the wall of weirdos with everyone that's not hot, including this insane picture of that insane man.
Yes, this is
The
sick.
model reading the whole night, all about love. Bell hooks, okay.
I mean, you know, what I will say is it's not working. Like,
This is
Kamala did not get a bump from her big joy-filled DJ, you know, emceed convention. Right now, with Trump, who, like, he's awful.
He's floundering so hard.
He doesn't even know how to attack her. He says awful things like, I'd lock everybody up who's a protester. I deport them. You know, Jews who vote for Kamala just want to be, I mean,
Well, at this point, he just has to be a huge dick at the debate and it'll fire up his base and bring his numbers back up.
Okay, so the debate's on Tuesday, so I know Wednesday it's going to be all debate
Wednesday's
all the
gonna
time.
be fun.
Yeah, Wednesday's gonna be, but like it's going to be fun. Tuesday night's going to suck for me though because I'm going to be watching the debate.
I have to watch the debate
in real time. But okay, the general election doesn't really matter. Obviously, it's all about the battleground states. But this is this week, and you know, generic Democrat was beating Donald Trump in the general not important poll for months when Biden was floundering. Now that Kamala's been here, she's losing in the general in the New York Times poll. I mean,
which is why I have said and will continue to say she's basically peaked. She peaked at the you're not Joe Biden, and now it's just like, okay, you were excited she's not Joe Biden, and what is she? And she's not running on any fucking policy other than I'm pretty Republican, so don't worry about me, Republicans. But you got your own base. You're turning off your own base. They're putting out these stories. Kamala Harris doesn't need policy to win.
Why would you? But by the way, she's given plenty of policy. She's given all I need to know. She's pro-genocide, anti-climate, fuck all with COVID, pro-draconian fascist border bill, and building a wall. I mean, what else do we need to know? That's it. And not for Medicare for all.
Definitely against Medicare for all. Fracking. I mean, she's going to be the fracker in chief because you know you got to win Pennsylvania. So
yeah.
But look, how's it playing with voters though?
I mean, I'm really, you know, and I don't know if New York Times is reporting this because, as you know, we've all talked about, do they like the horse race? Is that why they're doing this? Like, I'm kind of surprised that they're doing this. I mean, this is her in the swing states. And okay, here come the librarian glasses, Devin. She is, well, up in Wisconsin and Michigan, which I don't know, but okay.
Up in 3, tied in 4.
Yeah. And also it's all within the margin of error. So like none of this is as good as Biden's numbers were or Hillary Clinton's numbers were. And what's the debate going to be? She's going to lob a couple of funny zingers. That little girl was me, and I don't care about, you're weird, whatever. The media's going to make a lot of hay about it. And people are still going to be wondering, like, what are you doing for me?
But I think you're going to get some policy out of it. And the policy you get out of it is going to turn off her own base in an appeal to win independents and Republicans, which she's not going to do. So it's a losing strategy. I mean, I think even if she has a great performance at the debate, she doesn't get a bump, because it's gonna be a great performance per the media, but people who are listening for Palestine stuff, or people who are listening for Medicare for all stuff, or people who are listening for the environment, they don't know where she stands on that stuff right now, and it's gonna be defined a little bit one way or another, and she's gonna try to define herself more Republican, so more to the right of her own supporters.
Well, listen, it has never been more clear. They tell us they don't need our votes. If you write anything about democracy, the libs or the paid online people make fun of you, like, oh, is democracy an interview? Is democracy a debate? Is democracy a primary? Like it's so outrageous that you would have policies. Sorry, that's crazy. Is that policy? Is that democracy? Like, it's so unheard of to demand these basic pieces of information from the person who wants your vote to be the leader of the free world. It is the most important job in the whole world. And if you answered any question the way she answered Dana Bash, or the way she behaved when Lester Holt asked her about visiting the border, and you were applying for a job to be a researcher at biography, or to be a server, forget it.
No. And meanwhile, the democracy argument, all they're doing, Democrats up and down every state,
so disgusting,
are suing and trying to kick her off the ballots. They fight ballot access left and right. Nevada somehow managed to, despite them, the Green Party using the form laid out to them by the Nevada Secretary of State, that was dismissed, and legally the Supreme Court in the state said, use the form that the Secretary of State gave you, but you're off the ballot.
This is where the judges, and they're all corporate right wing, whether they have a D in front of their name or not. They, remember when Chuck Schumer just approved all of the federal appointee judges that Trump wanted because everybody wanted to go on vacation?
Yeah.
Like, they are all working in collaboration with each other, and they're not working for us. And
which is why even when they make the arguments about the Supreme Court, and that was the biggest argument that was sort of valid, is that, the Republicans on the right will appoint anti-abortion Supreme Court people, but the Democrats will not appoint a leftist economic policy person.
Nope.
They will not appoint anyone who will ever represent the middle class or the poor class, working class.
Nope, never.
No. So both parties are going to always elect somebody institutionally against us having a fair shake in this world.
I mean, the whole Supreme Court is just like a corporate, corporate owned. And that's why, like, when they talk about like left versus right, it is so disappointing, or the center, or like moderate, whatever. Like, all of it needs to be transparent. They are all corporate captured by their investors, because it's not even like donors, because they expect something back. Reid Hoffman, or whoever the hell is that Reid Hoffman, the LinkedIn guy, Reid, whatever, who wants her to fire Lena Khan. But by the way, now they all are now like, okay, Kamala just got, Reid Hoffman. And now Barry Diller, they all want her to get rid of Lena Khan.
So just for people that don't know, Lena Khan is the only good person in all of
She's the only good part of the whole Biden administration.
Right. So she was appointed to the FTC. And she actually is using the powers of the FTC for the first time in generations to fight for working
Like
people.
an anti-monopoly,
She got rid of the clause where the non-compete clause.
Yep.
Non-compete clauses are now illegal. You can not use. So you go work someplace and you get fired or want to quit, go work somewhere else. You can go work at the competition now. That held so many people back. So that's her individually. Her own employer hates her for it.
Yeah, of course. And they have been like very vocal, these 88 corporate leaders, maybe not all of them, but the biggest ones, about wanting her to fire Lena Khan because she wants to set regulations on these monopolistic practices. We just want to call out our own Adria French wrote this great piece about the Kroger's merger, which Lena Khan has been also fighting against, which it's been very clear this what is Kroger's and Albertsons merger would actually spell the layoff of tens of thousands of workers, because the company that was going to buy some of the stores is not really set up to deal with it. So they would have to then basically close, lay off people. If over 500 stores end up closing because CNS, which is the competing grocery store that they're saying, this is why it wouldn't be a monopoly, right? CNS a smaller company would buy these other stores, pharmacies, fueling stations. They don't have experience. They would basically end up laying off tens of thousands of workers. And as we know, like just as a lifting or a rising tide lifts all boats, when people are fired, when unions go down, that also has a domino effect the other way. So this is the kind of monopoly and corporate corruption malfeasance that Lena Khan's working against. And Reid Hoffman says that's bad for America.
Yeah. And like you said, these people are so ballsy. They're going on TV saying our support for Kamala is conditional, basically, on we want her gone. We want her out.
Lena Khan.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Just so, I mean, sorry, I'm reading the comments because it's just
I get lost in them.
I know. I mean, it's really inspiring because I know, so many of all of you are working hard in your own ways as we are all trying, and really appreciate. Really appreciate. And thank you for sharing that with us.
Kamala's running on
no policies except, I mean, why do they keep saying no policies? She's actually put out plenty. Like, we know who she is. It's very clear.
Yeah, we're going to lower the capital gains tax. That's a policy now.
Jesus.
I mean, it's raising it, but it's like she's raising it 12% less than Biden ran on raising it, and he didn't do it. It's
right.
Just
and
like
that's always the ratchet effect, right? It's like, what's the tax cut for the rich that George W. did? And then Obama comes in and he he doesn't bring it back to Eisenhower at 90%.
But what did Eisenhower do about ticket prices? Because that's really how you win people over. Ticket prices and delays at airports.
Do you even want to see Taylor Swift? Do you even want to go to a super spreader?
Yeah.
All right. So we got that. I mean, there's another horrifying story. I mean, like, it's so hard even to focus on all the horrors that are happening in our own country because it's like the worst Pied Piper effect ever, right? Like, if every politician is always compared against Trump, who, by the way, I'm sorry, is never in my mind going to be worse than George W. or Dick Cheney, but whatever. Like, so now you've got a genocide. Are we really going to talk about the fact that this Acadia charges so much money for every day that one of their psychiatric patients stays in one of their facilities, that they trap them there because they can keep like bringing the money in from
It's private prisons, but just in psychiatric institutions.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing there.
So disgusting. We need all the Lena Khans in the world. This, however, we've got two little pieces of good news. In Tennessee, 1,000 battery workers in Tennessee just won a union and joined the UAW. And these Ultium cells workers are essential to the EV industry. So they're going union, which is fantastic. Absolutely. And in Cleveland, the mayor signed an executive order. And I'm sorry, but why do you want to run for president if you're not going to use executive orders? Use all of the executive orders. Or
well, traditionally, Democrats do nothing. We're going to follow tradition here.
Just really scary when Trump has all that power, but Democrats are never going to use it. But anyway, this Cleveland mayor, Justin Bibb, signed an executive order ensuring that unions will be part of all critical infrastructure projects in the city of Cleveland. Of course, there's always the fine print that costs $500,000 or more, or whatever, but all right, at least it's something. Like, use your power. You can't complain about Republicans having all the power when they're in charge, and Democrats somehow can never wield that power.
Well, I don't know.
Can you?
Did Trump teach me how to make chicken and
in a bathtub?
Greens in a bathtub and
Put that chicken in a bathtub.
had to play it once. I'm going to delete that clip. Never see it again.
It's good. It's
painful.
So
it's painful.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, baby.
I need some more wine. Okay, look at that. And I am pouring some more wine.
This is the most election of our lifetime.
So you know how those lids are, because this is, well, I'm just going to speak, okay? So this is it. So you know how those lids on those Starbucks cups, they're white, right? And so if you wear lipstick, they get all over the lid. And so then I find myself in meetings if I'm the only woman, and that's kind of it. So I keep taking the lid off and having my cup out so that I don't have that big lipstick mark on the lid. So I said, can we do something about the color of the lid? So that was that conversation.
Does that count as a policy?
Does that count as a timeline cleanse? I don't even.
God, I mean, seriously. Oh,
all right, I'm gonna roll with some cats because we need some cats. And I need to grab some beer.
Something good. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh my God, that's so sad.
Okay, Kamala has ruined joy and laughter for me. Every single laugh, I was like, oh, God. Like, isn't that terrible? Terrible.
I can understand. Do not come. I can't think of, all I think of is sex with that. Do not come. I'm like, please.
It was a debate.
It was a debate. I mean, like, hey, if you're 17 years old and you need to use that thing, the mental trigger to slow you down a little bit, think of that. I'm just putting it out there.
Do you remember when Jon Stewart, who hated Hillary Clinton, like froze her face at some point in 2016, 2015. And he just said, "This is where boners go to die." I liked that. All right.
COVID. We got COVID to cover.
We got to get to COVID. It's looking good, folks. It's looking good. So I think we did the subtweeted or quote tweeted thing here on Sunday, but they actually updated it and it went to 1,262 new deaths this past week. It's so stark and horrifying that CDC actually changed their color scheme. Okay, it's small, and we were trying to get a lot of information in here.
You start with red. Red is the universal things are fucked, dangerous.
Nope.
Then they get to calm blue, like a cooling, like literal psychologically pleasing blue.
Right.
And that's not enough now. They took it to another level.
They made it, okay, so they do like this greenish blue, what you're saying, but because it got so bad and they had 10 levels, they have now changed it to only 5 levels of wastewater so that they can kind of flatten out the horrifying numbers of people who are now infected, reinfected again with COVID. So the one on the left was from, I think, September 4th. 2 days later, they changed it so that it would look a little less drastic. Thankfully, Mike Horger, I don't know how to pronounce that, but he does a lot of the projections of wastewater. He put it back to the actual colors it should be, which is flaming. It's not even red. It's like, what do you call that? It's like death
super
maroon.
Spreader burgundy.
It's cancer, it's airborne AIDS, it's dementia, it's organ issues, vascular issues. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the true death toll, it's just astronomical. And this is outdated. This is old, but
the economists, like, it's always going to be business people in the end, like, even though they fuck you short term and long term, but like they also know what this is going to cost them, because what they see with this at the Economist is, where are we going to get our workers from? Let's get that AI going fast.
Yeah, when you talk about workers, I mean, 7 million below pre-pandemic.
Wow.
And people are like looking at this chart. I wonder why. Like, what happened back there in 420? Isn't that strange? It's 420.
Look at that.
But in 420, what happened there that caused all these people to be unemployed?
I don't know. They just didn't like their jobs. Yeah, pink with amounts of sparkly glitter. Exactly. That's going to be our new transmission map.
So there is a lot of information coming out now that's hitting sort of mainstream, some good, some bad. I mean, it's good that it's all getting out there, I think, but more and more it's clear that it's a new form of AIDS. So we even had people on the show that were COVID experts that didn't want to go there too much because it's making leaps to HIV, but it's really not a leap to HIV. It's an acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, meaning it's wrecking your immune system.
It's dysregulating your immune system, which is why people are getting viruses, diseases that we had eradicated. We no longer have any sort of, what was the Barrington thing about herd immunity? It only worked when everybody buys into that system. Cancer, like cancer.
Another good thing. Let's go through some good things here, I guess.
Why would you?
Because
this is good. Yeah.
She's screaming at me.
So, I mean, I am really wondering when this will actually come into play, and I can't imagine it's going to be before the election. But
it literally says November.
No way.
Yes, it's literally.
I never really Because I just read that. No, I'm joking.
It's literally in place to start tracking COVID again
after Kamala wins or after
the
Trump
election.
wins. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Why would, if you don't take the data, nobody's sick. Okay, so was that good news? That's goodish news. Go ahead. What's your other good news?
Well, the bad news, the subvariant is blowing up around the world. That's coming here, but that's another thing. But good news is there's an article, a big article out in the Scientific American calling for protections in schools. Why aren't we putting basic air quality controls that work, that aren't very expensive?
Because we gave that money to cops. Remember? Biden said, use your COVID money and give it to cops.
Yeah. Good news. Novavax going to be more available. There's an actual website you can look at now to see where it's
not
around
updated yet, but because I go on it every few hours. And by the way, from what I've heard, and the protocol for Novavax has not been all that clear. So I'm sort of relying on the, do your own research and relying on online epidemiologists and experts who are talking about it. But if you are switching from mRNA vaccines, which would be Pfizer and Moderna, to Novavax, which is, I think, protein-based, I'm probably going to get a lot of this wrong, you need to do the same course where you do the first one and then the second one, the booster, 8 weeks later, 6 to 8 weeks later. The guidance, again, is horrible. You really have to dig deep for it. You need that booster, and then you can start getting these updates. So my whole family, we did the first Novavax, then we did the next one 8 weeks later, almost a year ago now.
Right.
Like we're on to 3 more variants, and then, but anyway, so yeah.
Yes, but I personally would recommend the Novavax. I think we both probably would, but we're not health experts. But it's shown to be more resilient
and targets the current strains. Yeah,
and it is sort of effective with the new strain. So, yeah. And all your friends that are like, I don't trust the vax, just say this is an old style vax.
Yep.
This is not new technology. So wipe that excuse off your palette of excuses.
Yeah. But still wear a mask, or
just I don't give a shit if you get vaccinated. Wear a mask. At this point, everyone has probably had COVID enough to have a core. It's not protection, but you have some protection with different systems from having had it once. So I'm not anti-vaccine, but the people that are anti-vaccine, masking is more important for the public health than their own health. But mask.
And it's variant proof, right? Like it doesn't matter. Truth to tweet. I will find it. It is Novavax something. I can't get onto that now or I'm going to freeze. But it's not updated yet. I will post it. I'll retweet it later on today. But I know they're really going to try to have it at like what we already showed, like at Costco, Walgreens, Rite Aid, they're going to try to have it at most of the big places. So CVS, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
And also, I just want to mention this is a big win for COVID conscious people who fought like hell. This wouldn't have happened. The capture of our government by the pharmaceutical industry, they wanted to shut Novavax out of all this, and it should have been out to the public in mass ages ago.
Yep.
Especially to comfort the people that bought all the bullshit about mRNA. It should have been, there should have been TV ads from our government saying, if you don't like the mRNA vaccine, here's a regular old fucking vaccine.
Yep. And they submitted their vaccine before Moderna and Pfizer did for this latest one. And they're actually targeting the latest variant, and both the mRNA ones were approved before Novavax. It's just, of course, people don't trust their government. Of course, they don't trust public health. By the way, I couldn't stand Rochelle Walensky, but she was at least a face out there We
They
haven't
don't want
heard
a
from
face
Mindy
on
Cohn.
this.
Nothing.
They don't want any.
Yeah.
No.
But Biden just yesterday or whatever from his, department tweeted something about ending the pandemic 4 years ago when I came into power, whatever.
It's so insulting. And this is another reason I'm telling you, Kamala's stock is going to go down because school started. COVID's going to be more widespread. We're seeing it. Everyone's kids are coming back sick. They're like, how many times are we going to have this? Which wakes more people up to what the fuck? There's no protections, which is what the fuck are you going to do about it? Which is when your kids got COVID for the 18th time. And you see Kamala in a candle shop talking about, hey, Dick Cheney,
warrior of joy. Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Yeah. It adds up, and people are more affected by the policy than they were. I mean, people have always been affected, but like a lot of people are dramatically affected by the bad policy of the Biden administration, and they're not seeing any change to Kamala.
Because they keep saying she doesn't have policies. Every policy is a far right wing Dick Cheney policy. She has policies. So, we know them.
One little piece of good news that I found.
You keep doing this to me, Pat.
What
good news?
Good news. My good news is not that good news, but this is actually good news. We'll see. You can't put too much in these things, but this is a big,
amazing. Yeah.
This is a big deal. They found a neutralizing plasma antibody. So neutralizing means you actually can't spread it. If you can actually stop this from transmitting, and that's a milestone. There's also another milestone. I didn't pull the graphic for it, but there's a treatment that could work for COVID in the lungs. That's somebody, I don't know, just take my word on it. But there's the point is there's some optimism.
I'm glad I didn't fight
to
you
avoid,
on that one. Like, no, no, you go take all the credit for whatever you're about to say. Go ahead.
You want to avoid getting infected because there is hope that there is a point where you won't, like the less you've had these things, like treatments, hoping on magical treatments is farther out than hoping on an actual vaccine that stops transmission or something like that. Because we have lots of signs of possibly stopping transmission with a vaccine. But for that to actually work long term, we need to get more of the public to believe in vaccines, which is why we should push this Novavax vaccine to a lot more people. Adria believes me, and that's enough for me.
That's enough. Put it on a pillow, embroider that. I mean, honestly, Biden did more to kill belief science and the idea of public health and the idea, most people aren't getting boosters.
No,
and people have stopped even
low.
Inoculating their kids on regular vaccines that they used to have, right? So we have to, it is just such a shame. I mean, I honestly think that the more politicians could, do you remember there was a video at the beginning of COVID where Angela Merkel was trying to explain to people the reinfection, like you wanted to get it below R1 and now it's at an R4, and she was talking to the people in her country, her citizens, like they could handle knowledge, and saying you don't want to spread it, you don't want to get it, you don't want to spread it. Also in New Zealand, I can't remember, Jacinda, whatever, she's gone, I don't even know what happened, but people can handle the truth if you're honest. And even if you make a mistake, it's just like fighting for a policy. The reason so many of us are disgusted by AOC Pelosi is because she didn't fight. If you lose, but you fought, okay, you fought, you fight it because it's there to be fought. And that's what you ran on. And that's what we all need. And then you get something wrong because it was a new virus and maybe people didn't know or whatever. But the dishonesty and the complete subjugation to what their corporate owners want is just, it's destroyed any semblance of democracy. All right. Is that my happy talk? Go ahead. What do you want to put on? Something good?
No, you're right. I mean, obviously, look, the problem is the Biden administration, the Kamala administration, Democrats, they wanted to, you couldn't follow up Trump's disastrous COVID response with ours is just as bad. So they wanted to declare it over.
Yeah.
If we had the media would be out there saying this is just as bad, and the whole world has bought into this. And
thanks, Pete. Thanks, Mayor Pete and McKinsey.
Yeah. So I don't know where we go from here. Is we need to get people more informed on this stuff. Obviously, we've been fighting for that for a long time. With kids in school right now, we're back in a situation where parents are coming home, their kid for the 20th sickness.
Dude,
are you just typing these up? I don't even believe these are comments at this point.
I'm joking.
You got like 4 per. Are you Jeff Miami?
Oh my God.
With 18 accounts.
That's a whole other story. I know, it's crazy. All right. Where are we on all of this? I think we did it, right? We covered all the joy in the world.
We have some joy though at the end. We have actual joy. It made you verklempt earlier.
Yeah.
When I showed you the video I found.
I was sobbing. And I will sob them the second time. All right. So Tuesday night, we're watching the debate, so you don't have to. But I just have a question. Do you think Trump's going to be a bully, or is he going to be as chivalrous as is possible? What's his tactic going to be? What's your bet?
Wow. I think he's going to end up snapping a couple times. I think so. Look, he's going to be told, you did so well in the last debate because you held your cool and you let her expose her. You let him expose himself. But he's just not, he's backed in a corner. You see how when he loses these court cases, he can't help but just bite.
Yeah.
And so he's going to bite. But all of that is, no matter how bad it is only going to motivate his people because they haven't seen him fighting the right way. They haven't seen him being himself. He's been like less of an alpha. So he's going to come out and probably, I mean, he's going to be a dick one way or another. Strategically, he's going to be a dick. I don't know. That might even be the plan. Just come out and be as Trumpy as you can.
If I were advising him, I would just point out in a very calm, rational way, a couple of her huge instances of flip-flopping or hypocrisy. I would memorize them.
Oh, fracking is going to be a huge thing. They're going to make it all about fracking.
Medicare for all, the wall, like a lot of stuff. If I were she, I would, because she doesn't really know what the hell she's talking about, except she just wants to please her investors. She's going to have a couple of that little girl was me moments and a couple of moments where she says, I'm speaking, and a couple of moments where she just says, like, basically infantilizes him. And they're both going to play to their people, and it's going to all make me retch into my mouth repeatedly.
It's going to turn off the whole country who doesn't like politics. I guarantee you that. It's not going to be something that where people are going to be like, well, now I know where she stands and I agree, or it's just going to polarize. It's going to turn people off. It's going to be after the debate. It's going to be more about voting for the person you hate than it was before, which doesn't favor her at all because the people in the middle want policy. The independents that haven't made up their mind, they didn't make up their mind because they don't like either one on policy. Not like who's the coolest person in the room, who's brat, who's more brat.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I didn't used to totally understand this, but the swing voters or the independents who have made up their mind, it's not between the two of them. It's, do I show up to vote or do I not? Like, I don't think anybody's actually like, oh, is it Kamala or Trump? I think it's like, none of this matters. Like, it doesn't matter. Clearly it doesn't matter.
Yeah. If I had to guess, I think there's no real bump at the end of it. But after the no bump, that is a bump for Trump.
I think you're right. Because his people are baked in. They love him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other effect of the no bump is that she has to get out and talk to people more. And they already know they've hidden her. They've maxed out the hiding her part. Yeah. So if she has a decent performance
in the bathtub.
But if she has a decent performance, they can hide her a little more. But if it's just
Yeah.
neutral and there's no bump, she's got to get out there, and that's going to hurt her, which is why long term it's a bump for Trump.
Yeah, I think.
Say it
Listen,
again.
I think I'm right. All right. You all are awesome. We will see you on Wednesday. This is not politics. And if there's something bad about either one of these people, oh God, I don't want to know. Just 2 minutes of some joy.
Cheers.
We love you guys.
Looking forward to Wednesday to recap the good old debate.
Keep punching up. We'll see you then. Thanks.
Let's go! Good job, baby! Let it rip! Let it rip! For one dump, I just want you to think about...
So better than 705. Oh, that's all.